Welcome to the day 3 of Masterclass 2022. And today we have some amazing topics like story maps, visualization, geospatial data by Miss Ayeisha Sheldon, and topic 2 by Miss Luz Silvina and Miss Teyvi. And it is about OpenStreetMap application and transportation. I hope you have an amazing time watching these videos and learning something new.
Hello everyone, my name is Ayeisha Sheldon and I'm going to be doing a short presentation today on how to use the new Esri story maps. So before we get started, I'll just introduce myself quickly. If you watched last year's seminar, you may have seen a presentation from me then, but if you didn't, my name is Ayeisha Sheldon. I'm a geospatial analyst and I'm currently working at the United Nations Satellite Centre here in Geneva in Switzerland. I have a bachelor's and a master's in geospatial science, and I've worked within the international sector for quite some time now at different organizations within the UN and also in the academia sector. So these are the short topics that we're going to follow today in today's presentation and live seminar. Firstly, what are story maps, some examples of them, how you can use them, how you can access them, and then also a live demonstration of some of the basic things that you can do. So what are story maps? You may be familiar with Esri's ArcGIS Online story map developer. It has changed and also been upgraded, over several years. Story maps have been around for quite a while now, but they are pretty much a story web-based application that allow people to share their content, and not only visual content, but also geographic content like maps and other data in a sort of narrative text that tells a story. So this can be a story about, a trip, a place, a project. It can really be a story about you, anything. So it's a really, really great tool that can be used in many different situations to present your data and information in a really interactive way. So yeah, what can you do with stories? You can add in text, maps, images, videos, embed other content and other media, and also your geospatial data. So this can be different vector files, different data files, different location-based information, all that type of stuff. You can then publish and edit your stories. You can share them with an organization, with a group, or live onto the web. You can also manage your stories. Obviously, you can edit them. You can create groups and collections, and yeah, just have your content online. So the main reason that I wanted to present the new story maps is because Esri recently just launched a dedicated platform for story maps only. So if you are familiar with Esri story maps, they were integrated into, and they still are integrated into Esri's ArcGIS Online system. However, this mostly costs money. If you need a subscription to have the ArcGIS Online account and to put data and everything. But with their new Story Maps website, there are options to have free accounts and to host a limited number of free stories on the pure Story Maps account and to store your data and information on your account there. So this is really helpful, especially for people and people or young students that either have, the Esri subscription with their school or their workplace, but then want to have their own personal subscription or their own personal account for their story maps because they want to do independent work. So I think this is a really, really great new website where individual people can host their own story maps separate from where they're studying or where they're working, which then allows them to have their own story map sites where they can store all their story maps and then share that link publicly, when they're doing job applications or resumes for future employers, for future jobs, like sharing all that type of stuff. So I think that's a really, really great tool that can be used, especially for entry or, for graduates. So that's really what I'm going to be showing you today is the new Story Maps only website. So I know there are a lot of different story maps and web app builder tools in ArcGIS Online, but I will just present today on the new Story Maps website, which you can see here in blue. So there are a lot of links and a lot of resources online about what makes a great story, some examples, and a lot of things which I will put in this presentation, so you can check it out at the end. But I think we should now jump right in and get started on seeing what we can do with these story maps. So I will just start to show my screen again. So yeah, you can go to storymaps.com and you will be, just going to turn up my video. So you will go to storymaps.com and you will be presented with this website, which is the landing page. It tells you, welcome to Story Maps, has all this information. Obviously then, if you have an account already, sign in. Otherwise, you get started and you create your account just like normal. But I just wanted to show you here quickly the pricing and the options that they have. So if you don't have an account and you don't want to pay, you can set up the basic story map option. You have a limited 10 stories and 5 collections. You do also have options to do basics other stuff. And then if you do want to pay, it is not so expensive, especially for SRE products. It's just $100 per year. So if you are going to use this as a tool for either displaying your data and information or using it as a resume builder or a portfolio builder, it would be really great, to be able to have unlimited number of stories you can make. But I really would recommend that people try out the basic plan first and see if they like it and if they use it before then upgrading and paying. Me, myself, I've started out with the basic plan, and if I end up using it and want to use it more, I then would pay for the premium. But I think to start with the basic, it's really enough for now, unless you really need to have like your own themes and stuff like that. So you can weigh up the options here and read all of the information. So once you've logged in and you've created your account, you will come to your landing page. You won't have anything here because you have not created anything yet. But when you start to create stories, all your story maps and your collections will be here in your content pane. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and create a new story. You just press this button here. When you create a collection, you can add different stories to the collection. So a really good example of a collection is this example here, which talks about food. So you can see this is the collection of story maps, and each one of these 11 countries for food is a different story map. So when you click on this, it then takes you to that specific story map about the food in Brazil. And you can see in the collection, you can have the overview up here, and then you can also click through to different countries. So this is kind of how collections and stories work. But for today, we're just going to go through the basic creating a story and show. And I really want to show and to highlight in this presentation what you can do with the data and mapping, because a lot of the time actually in stories, you don't need to use a lot of data and you don't need to show a lot of maps. You can see in this, we've just got one very basic map. And in other stories, there's actually no maps. So I just wanted to kind of walk you through these different map options and how they can really be used. So the first map option is this immersive and also the maps. So these other things here, I'm not really going to go through. They are very self-explanatory. It's just adding images, videos, and the visuals. So you can check those out and experiment in your own time. But I really wanted just to go through these 6 quickly and to show you some of the things you can do with them. So the slideshow is an immersive slideshow where you can add multiple slides. This is really optional. So in this, you can add media. So you could have a slideshow of images, or you could also have a slideshow of maps. For this, there's options to add an express map, which is quite an interesting tool. It gives you quite free range to add different points and different lines and even polygons that you can draw directly onto a map. The cool thing with this is that with this Esri technology, they have a lot of stuff already set up in here. So you have options for many different base maps. You can pick one that really suits the theme of your story. You then have options to add in different search tool, current location, legend, all that type of stuff. So it's very interactive and similar to how ArcGIS Online works. You then can draw features. So what is quite interesting is you can add numbered points. So if we put one down here, and you can add this one. So what I was thinking is if you were doing a slider, you might have different locations and show on the slider how things have changed over the time. Because when you have a slider, you're sliding between multiple scenes. So it's really nice to have kind of a scene that adds on to another. So what I usually do is I duplicate so that the scene is exactly the same. Then I will edit this scene and I will add in another point, another location up here, and another line. So of course, all of these are editable. You can also change the colors, you can change the labels, you can put the description, you can do all of that. You can really play around with it. I'll just move this up there. So, okay. So I just wanted to show you quickly how this works. So then you can put in your text. Maybe you will say something like my road trip, and then you have part one here, and then when you go to the next slider, you have part two. So this is just an example of how you use this slider because, you know, when you keep the map displayed the same, it looks quite cool and interesting when you click through, and, you know, you could have more stops and click through and have more information. So this is one way you can display this type of data. Another way, very similar to that, is also the map tour. So this also, you can either start your map tour with photos or from scratch. So I'm actually going to show you how I'm going to do this with photos. So I have a collection here of a few photos. I'm going to select these. And I don't know some of these photos. Okay, some of these photos, they're too big. So I'm just going to use these for them. Create my tour. And because these photos have geo-reference data in them, they were actually drone photos. So they have location-based information in them. They will automatically geo-reference. If they don't have geo-reference data, you can geo-reference them yourself. So this was just quite cool. You can take the information and then pinpoint the exact location for you. You can also choose which type of layout you want. I really like this guided layout with map focused, because you can see that they put the image here for you and with the number. So when you scroll through, the map will move around to the different locations. This is really cool. And the thing also is that, yeah, so you can see this one here, it doesn't have georeference data. So I can now, I can now add the location for this fourth image, which is down here. And then, yeah, there it is. So this, I think, is a really cool tool to add in all your pictures. If you want to tell a story, you know, you want to show where you've studied, where you've worked, or where you've traveled. It's a really nice, you know, interactive way. So moving on to the next map example, we also have the sidecar. And the sidecar, I'm not going to go through, but it is very similar to the slideshow that we did earlier. Sorry. You have the same thing, but it's a scroll through instead of a click through. So you can do the same thing as above. You can have the same map scrolling through. You can also have images or other things in there as well. So it's just kind of the layout and what you want to choose to do. For the other maps, you can add in express maps. So this is the map that I was showing you before, where you can add in different labels, lines, and polygons. For the express map, this is kind of a markup, I would say, where you can choose a location, such as a city or an area or something, and draw things onto it to then tell the audience where you are. So if I say, I'm doing my thing and I'm staying here, you can draw kind of things like this, and then that would just show like this in the map window. So it's not going to come, with an immersive click through and thing. It's just going to show here as a map. So if you wanted to pinpoint a location, that's what they've done in this one. They've just pinpointed Brazil on the map and put it in there. So this is for basic maps. The thematic map is very interesting. This is really cool. At the moment, they really only have options for the US, Canada, and then the world as a whole. This is really interesting if you want to show thematic data, but the only thing with this at the moment is you need to manually put in all the values. So this could be quite time consuming, but if you do have global data, it is a really nice way to show it. It automatically comes with pop-ups. You can then edit the visualization colors, and different things there. So that's very, very cool. I really want to try and experiment with that. And the last one that we have on here are the ready-to-use maps. So these are maps and data that are coming from Esri's Living Atlas of the World. And this includes a lot of authoritative data and data sets that have already been analyzed by Esri. You can search in here for different data that you want to look for, and you can also then use other data on the landing page. I think this really depends on what you're making and what you want to show. I think it depends. Yeah, it really depends on what you want to have, because they don't seem very editable. So, if you want to put this map of Australia, you want to draw something on there, I don't think it's that possible. So, yeah, I guess just play around, just have a go and see what you like. But that is pretty much the overview of the mapping tools on the story maps. When you fill everything out and you're ready to go, you then publish your story, and then you have a URL, and you can share that URL then with anyone else, and they can see your story on the web. So it's very, very cool, and it's really nice that Esri has now released story maps that are free and available for anyone to use. I just wanted to show one thing quickly, is that when you create your story maps account, you have a profile and you also have a profile URL. So this, I think, is really cool because you can customize your profile with your banner, your photo, your name, your job title. You can also add in your social medias, and then all of your stories that you publicly publish will come up here. So if we go back and just publish one of these, I just wanted to show you, just for this one test. So if we publish this one, I think you can unpublish as well, so that's okay. Oh, okay. So yeah, if we publish this, it will then come up on our story profile. And I think this is really, really cool because, if you're putting together a portfolio or a resume or a CV, and you talk about geospatial data and visualization or design or something like that, you can then link them to your story profile and then they can see your work. I really am a strong believer in digital portfolios and visualization. So I think this is really, really a great tool, and especially for graduates and beginners, to try and to test out different things. So yeah, there we go. Once you publish your stories, they'll come up here, and you can share this link publicly with anyone, and they will be able to see all your stories and your amazing work. So yes, that is pretty much it about stories. Thank you so much for listening to the presentation. If you have any questions about stories, or you want to ask me anything, please reach out to me via email or LinkedIn. I would be happy to help you. Just a disclaimer in this, I am no way a full pro in stories or story maps. I have been using them in my work for quite a while now, and I did see this new story map website tool that Esri just released, so I thought it would be really cool to share with people. But of course, there's a lot of things you can do, there's a lot of things you can't do, so just take it as a grain of salt and have a look yourself and experiment and see, and see what you can come up with. I would be really interested to see what you guys make. So yeah, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or LinkedIn or email, and I would be happy to see your stories and to give you any advice or feedback or anything. So thanks so much for listening, and have a great rest of your week and seminar.
Hello everyone, my name is Angela. I am a geospatial specialist with interest in humanitarian mapping and transport. I'm here with my colleague Luz, and she will introduce herself later. Today, we are going to talk about OpenStreetMap application in transport, where we will highlight the tools. We'll talk about use cases in Ghana and in Bolivia. We'll talk about the Trophy app. I would ask you this question: do we need transportation? You can put your ideas in the chat. If you need transportation or if you don't need transportation. I will start with something very small, actually. Just walking from your house to work. For those that don't know work from home, imagine if there was no car for you to move from your house to your workplace because there's no road infrastructure. Imagine if this session were in person, we would see a lot of people that would come from all over the world to visit, to be part of the session. People coming by air, they would take airplanes, people would take the train, others would take the bus, and those fortunate enough would just walk to the event center. And that is awesome. How about cases that are a little bit distressing when there's a disaster somewhere? The earthquake in Haiti, the explosion in Lebanon, and people like development partners and donor agencies and Red Cross, for example, would like to share relief items to these people in distress. They need to move from one place to the other. Existing road infrastructures, the form of transport, for example, is something that we have to think about. Transportation is important in every aspect of our lives. It drives the economy. It makes our life better. Introduction of technology has increased our access to transport. You could just take your phone and order an Uber or other ride-hailing services. You could just use your phone and see how far the next bus is. This application are fortunate enough in developing countries, but how about developing countries that there's so much population density in city center that there's always traffic? The road infrastructure is bad. There are public transport providers that are not regulated. These are the issues that transportation come with if it's not planned well and if it's not regulated. OpenStreetMap is a great tool in transport planning, transport research, and solving issues with transportation. I will highlight them in two use cases. First one is Acro Mobility 3. Prior to Acro Mobility, there was no digital knowledge of transport services in Accra. If you go to the terminals, you could see a board that shows the schedules. So the station master would write a schedule that this car with this number is moving to this destination. There's another car with this number move to this destination. But after that, the board is wiped out. There's no data at all. So for the government to take actions to make transport better, to regulate the public transport system, and to make sure that its citizens are safe when they take these transport services, they need data on the routes. How many routes are in the city? Where are these routes going to? Where is the terminal? Where do these people take cars? Where are the bus stops? Do we need more bus stops, or these bus stops are enough? Which part of the government would help in regulating this transport space? Just never forget, transport is important in every walk of life. Hence, we need to know how to manage transport in our cities. So with this is the problem. We have no knowledge of how the public transport system is being run in the city. So we need to find solutions to that. First, we needed to collect data. Data is collected on the route. That is the cars moving from point A to point B. The terminals that they are picking the people from, where they operate, the bus stops along this route, who are the people operating these terminals, and the use of OpenStreetMap, which creates a beautiful visualization of the spatial, a beautiful visualization of the spatial distribution of these terminals in the city. And to begin with, the data collection process with the route was done with Osm Tracker that I'll talk more about, and the validation with Osm, other validation tools that were being used. And at the end of the day, we have a transport map that shows how the routes are in the city. With this, the government would be able to make much more better and informed decision on data. The tools that were used for this project, just highlighting a few, Osm Tracker. A lot of phones are GPS enabled, and these GPS enabled phones help us to track where we are going from one point to the other and collect data along the way. Osm Tracker is a very great tool. When you start from terminal A, you can a lot of functionalities as to you can input the name of the terminal, the fare of the transport from A to B, the people that run the terminal, because there are a lot of corporations that run the terminals. And also, if you need more information, the number of people that are in the bus, the capacity of the bus, the type of bus it is. That is when you're at the terminal. Along the terminal, you can collect information about the bus stops, where they drop people and where they alight people, and when people also board the car. And bus stops, you can take you can write the names of these bus stops, or you can put a point if you don't know of this bus stop. Frequency of using one route eventually fills up the data as you go along the way. The Osm Tracker has the functionality to record the GPS points from one place to the other, and also record the information with that are georeference. So the bus stops are georeference. At the end, you can use Java OpenStreetMap to create relations. It's important to understand the type of data that has been collected by the data collectors. OSM is a tool that helps you see the data as it's being collected. This is the best form of data collection, because if you do not see the data and curb some errors that are being done during the field mapping, it's very likely that you have to go back to the field and collect more data. And project managers would know that this is very bad for business and very bad for the data collectors as well. There are validation rule sets depending on the type of data that wants to be collected. Each validation rule set is also depending on what the project's target is. So for this project, Django Bus did their own validation rule sets to see if the data that is being collected is what they want. To transform this OSM data to GTFS, which is a more readable transport data format, OSM to GTFS is used. There are links to all of these tools that you will be shared to you later for you to understand them more. The case in Goma. After collection of data in Acro Mobility and the conversation about urban mobility started from the local government to the to development partners to even the citizens. They realized that there is still a poor service that is being rendered by these public transport service providers. So how can we make sure that they provide a better service? We need to collect more data, go back to the field and understand what is actually going on. And also this has largely influenced policy implementation and regulation because as time goes on, new regulation needs to be put in place and they need to be backed by data. So in this particular project, we needed to make a lot of analysis when it comes to how the transport service is being run in the city. We did a lot of surveys. We did frequency surveys, onboard surveys, passenger surveys, and stakeholder engagement surveys. With the stakeholder engagement, we went to the actors in the transport system to understand how they view the transport system, what help do they need, how can they help one another. This is very important in the data collection process because getting the views of these people streamlines the solutions I need to give to them. We talk to the financial service providers, people who give loans to the drivers that run these public transport systems. We talk to the corporations for these transport systems. We talk to the local governments, the people who make the rules on the local level. We also talk to the people who make regulation on regional and national levels as well to understand what their constraints are so our data will be collected so that and the solution you provide will be based on that. We also conducted passenger surveys, and these passenger surveys are based on what the passengers think about the terminals that they are in, the state of the buses. Are they too old? How about the safety? Do they feel safe when they take these buses? All of this information would help the government make better policies because of all these actors that are being engaged in the process. I will hand over to Luz and she will talk about Trophy. Trophy is an open source app that enables users to plan their trips. The mission of Trophy is to make public transport attractive to citizens, the people in developing countries, because public transport is more dominant in those areas. Also, Trophy wants to inspire entrepreneurs to take action when it comes to implementing trip planners in their cities as well. So if you're a developer, you're thinking of ways that you can make transport better in your city, you can stay tuned. Luz will talk about everything when it comes.
Hello, I'm Choque and I am the Trophy Manager Cochabamba. This time I want to tell you and share with you my experience with Trophy of Cochabamba. For you to understand better, I introduce you to my city, Cochabamba. It is a department located in the heart of Bolivia, a country that is located in the center of South America. Cochabamba is the third largest city in my country, being one of the main cities, with more than 2 millions of population. As a project, we focus on the metropolitan area, specifically the province of Cercado, which has more than 800,000 of population, on which more than 50% use public transportation. Now let's talk about public transport. It is an informal transport and is organized by syndicates, which means that the government has little control over public transport, and the planning of this is done according to the user demand. The types of transportation are microbuses, minibuses, and trufis, which stand for fixed road taxis o taxi de ruta fija in Spanish. Transportation availability is practically end-to-end, which means a bus will go from the south of the city to the north, of the east to the west, or a mix of these. So this results in a crowd place in the center and near a market known as La Cancha. The Trophy project started with the mission to make easy the use of public transportation in my city, and it was a joint work between volunteers from Bolivia and Germany. We started in 2018 with the planning of the whole project. On the one hand, we had the development team that was in charge of implementing all the features of the app and tools that supported the digitalization process. And on the other hand, we had the data collection team, where I was. To be honest, it was a harder and most complicated task because there was no official information published about the roads. We started the collection by known place that was where we lived, because in that way it was simpler. We went to consult personally with the drivers or got on the buses and took notes of the names of the streets or drew them on paper. I have to emphasize that as part of the Bolivian team, we didn't have many technological tools to make this collection. Then, trying to improve the method, we met with syndicates, and some of them, with suspicions, provide us some data. Finally, after getting to know more people, we were informed of a book that contains maps with the roads drawn, and we get that book to complete the data we were missing, although it was with all information. After this process, we looked for options on how to digitize them and decided to work on in Osm, since we saw that the data of my city was more updated than in Google Maps. For example, the names of the streets were registered and there were new roads built. Also, in the technical aspect, we saw that it will be the best option because it helped us to standardize the data we had. So we digitized all these roads, which we processed, and then we obtained the GTFS, which we use to set the data in our app. So, as a result, 297 roads were published in OSM, and they were in our app too. Our app mainly focuses on the route planning, showing door-to-door results and suggesting multiple routes. It was translated into 5 languages, and one of them was a native language, and it was the Quechua. The application is intuitive and easy to use, so these features made it well accepted by the local media after we launched the app in February of 2019. Currently, Currently, in March of this year, we updated our app. It was the version 3. It was because the demand of our user and all the feedback, we decided to incorporate new features and expand the routes. Currently, we have a total of 437 routes, since we decided to incorporate the provinces of Sacaba and Quillacollo. Those are cities near of Cercado, because they are very crowded cities for the population. Also, we incorporate the option to see single route and the option of user tracking. That is our GPS tracker, with which our user can help us to update or incorporate new routes. And right now we have more than 20,000 users. To conclude, as a woman, the work on this project was a little bit complicated at the beginning. As I told you, the collection was done manually, and doing this work for a woman alone in my city can be dangerous. But as you saw, we found other ways, and getting involved in the digitalization part was something that I love. And I love the idea of being able to contribute in some way to my city, and the realization of this project exceeded my expectation, because at the beginning we only wanted to expand it to other cities in my country, but because of the government's authority and all the complicated political situation, it was difficult to achieve. And we didn't want to stop the project, and we saw that the same necessities in other countries, so we extended. And as you saw, many other projects were carried out, in which we were organized according to the needed or the resource of each city. And I am very happy because the basis to create the Trophy Association NGO was in my city. Now we have volunteers from different parts of the world, and the participation of the women is also growing. So thank you so much for listening to me, and please contact me if you want to know more about Trophy or its projects. Thank you.
Ayeisha Sheldon is a GIS analyst at the United Nations Satellite Center UNOSAT, a UN agency where she works on geospatial and satellite analysis to contribute to the SDGs as well as development and humanitarian efforts. She recently completed her Masters of Geospatial Science at RMIT, Melbourne. Aisha is passionate about innovation technologies and using these to close the gap within our society, contributing to development efforts and improving livelihoods. In her spare time, Aisha likes to travel and experience different cultures. She is also an avid cartographer and loves making and sharing maps in her spare time. Luz is Tufi app manager Cochabamba, and Angela is geospatial scientist with an interest in humanitarian transport mapping. She's also a volunteer at OSM Ghana and Rufi. Thank you so much for joining to the day 3 of Masterclass 2022. Join us and grow your professional network. Register for our speaker database and show the world the great work you do. And put yourself out of your comfort zone from time to time. Get mentored and be a mentor and support the community. Speak up for yourself and diversity and be a factor of change. Thank you so much for joining in today's masterclass. We hope you to see soon on day 4. Thank you. I hope you have an amazing rest of the day.